1:45 a.m. the 28th of July, 2023, and couldn't get into a solid sleep. Got up, been smoking a couple cigarettes and playing free slot machine on computer on the network, and I don't really know why I'm here, but I thought something might bubble out of the stream. I was had been toying with my the good old Grateful Dead. Everybody has stories about that. Toying with that idea that I could reflect on my experiences and the whole the Dead, uh, which was a very significant part of my life for sure for a very long time. From probably 73, 74 on till the death of Jerry, and haven't gone to too many of the follow-on various combinations of old Dead players getting together. Saw Bobby Weir a couple times, but that's just one fragment. I don't know. I thought maybe if I just started talking, I would come out with something that would be a theme. 2 a.m. I used to go to parties and geez, I don't know. They'd last and last. I'd get home at 3 a.m., 4 a.m. Who knows? I don't do much of that anymore. There was usually some alcohol and drugs involved, and I don't know. People play music, tell stories, dance. I don't know. It was that kind of thing. Certainly up at 2 a.m. doing work, trying to figure something out. The head was running smoothly and quick, and when it's like that, you have to keep going. You can't just stop. It's not like you're on an assembly line where, okay, I've done my shift and I just walk away. And it wasn't like that. It was run it till you drop. And the stupid computer, I never slept. If it broke, it all it did was hurt you because now it delayed everything and you had to fix it and get it going again. Um, it's been really hot. I have to stop work at about 90 degrees. Humidity is very high. So I get out and I can do an hour and a half, 2 hours out in the heat, and then I'm done for the day and I'm inside. Yesterday I put up some curtain rods and I tore apart my LG washer to see why it leaks, and I can't see anything, but I know it leaks. So internet looking, YouTube. If it leaks, it's this part. If it leaks, it's this part. So I bought that part, and I bought a bunch of other rubbery type parts. The cylinder in there that washes vibrates a lot, and that rubber has to endure a lot of stretching and expanding and wiggling. So I bought, I think, all the major rubber hoses, if you want to call them that. I'm in the process of putting one new one in. When I took an old one out, I didn't see any holes in it, any cracks. It looked good to me. I can't find anything in the one the YouTube guy said that would leak, and that's not it. But I got it, so I'm gonna put it in. If the one I was in there isn't leaking now, it would be leaking in 3 months or something. So anyway, tomorrow get that one back in, take the top off, take a look at some of the other components, and afternoon work when it gets hot. In the wintertime, I used to do a lot of inside work, write on the computer. I used to do a lot of writing. and that would be an inside job. Income taxes in the January, inside work. Um, Design stuff on the computer. But anyway, so digging in the yard still, trying to put a trench in and an underground pipe, 4-inch pipe to shuttle some water off. My biggest problem is water flow, and 99% of the time it's not. You don't have to do anything about it. It's that 1%, and we get hurricanes here, and you get massive amounts of water, and it's got to go in the right direction, or it'll screw up everything. So that's been the major challenge is water flow. I did the front yard probably 2 years ago, and it took me like a year to sort that out. And it's been hanging tough. I haven't had to do much in the way of changes to the overall design. Move some rock around, fill some low spots, take out some, make the flow as unblocked or as possible. But anyway, always, always stuff. Need to change the car, oil in the car. One of the cars, it's got 6,000 miles on it. I need to do that. Um, what do I need to do? Workaholic. Uh, I could probably always have been. I don't, after school, after college anyway, workaholic. And the jobs I had with the Department of Defense, they were always time constrained. They'd taken 3 years to figure out what they wanted to do, and then they needed it done in 45 days or something. And it was usually some critical part nobody else could deal with, so I would get the critical part. All these other pieces had been done, but this was the piece that tied it all together that made it go. It was a little bit of pressure to get it done in a timely fashion and work. Um, Software, I don't know. I always looked at it like plumbing. You do plumbing, it's got to be 100%. It can't even weep water. I mean, it's got to be tight, no leak. No leak at all. It's not iffy. It's got to be 100%. Software had to be like that. It had to be 100%. You couldn't throw something out that it burped. I don't know what to do with that. So you had to think of all the things that could be thrown at it and make sure it didn't leak. I like some of the programming you see today or something, and it'll come up and say error 5147JJ. And that's the most informative error message I've ever had. They could have taken a little further than that. I wrote this giant program and got it all working, and then I realized I didn't have any help associated with it. So for every error code and for the description of the function, I spent almost a year writing help for it to explain, the parameters or the processing of a particular function. The return, pre and post return on investment was an elaborate sort of explanation of how that was calculated. And it is interesting that the banks and the people, financial advisors who do this stuff for a living, they still don't have a tool which will calculate pre and post income or return on your investment, pre and post tax uh, return on your investment. And I found that pretty important number to evaluate things with. But anyway, just rambling through things. Um, I don't know. Sometimes when I'm up like this, I think I talked about it in one episode or something. I have a radio, I want to call it radio background. I was fascinated by radio as a kid. There was no internet, no cell phones, and you could turn on the radio, and at night, AM radio, you could get stations, not just the local stations, but Boston and New York, Philadelphia, San Antonio, Texas, um, Topeka, Kansas. I don't know. And they had different people. And they had different things going on. I do remember in New York City, they always had ads for the all-night men's clothing store. Come on down and buy a suit. It's 3:30. We're open. You know, I thought nobody, but it's New York, so there are people awake, finishing their shift. Yeah, come on down to the suit store at 3 a.m. and get yourself a suit. That was a different world for me. And then it translated in amateur radio, and I used to build and send signals all over the world and contact people. I'd also listen to shortwave radio and not only cities and broadcast the United States, but also around the world. Argentina, well, I don't know, all of them, Italy, Spain, and they all had English language broadcasts sometimes during the day or the night. And a lot of times the signal would be very weak, and so I always had headphones on, and I would listen to the words fade in and out and of the static crashes of the universe. Uh, it was some kind of cued focus on pulling stuff out of the ether, pulling stuff out of the noise. Anyway, I thought about it one time, and I can envision myself past life, being on a cruise ship or a ship, merchant ship, whatever. I don't know, in the 1820s, 1830s, where radio was installed on the ship. It was all Morse code. There was a radio guy manning the radio station 24/7, and part of his job was obviously to send message ship to shore, the passengers on the boat, or the captain needed to tell the company something, or I need a part, whatever. But in the meantime, if there was nothing like that going on, you were supposed to scan the bands and listen for potentially an SOS. So I have envisioned myself doing that for hours on end and hearing the universe, its statics and its pops and all the man-made noises, the machinery and things that send out weird, poppy, steppy, crappy signals. But anyway, listening down deep in that stuff for a sign of intelligence, something that might sound like a word or a dot or a dash, a couple characters of Morse code. Anyway, that then leaped over into that if I quieted my mind down, the static of my mind, that I could sweep the bands, to hear if there was some significant, if there was any messages floating around from other humans in some strange way that we communicate, and I don't, I don't know. I would be listening basically for SOS. Somebody I knew or somebody I didn't know broadcasting an SOS. I need some help. And now and then you know, it'll occur. I'm no longer in a ship. I'm doing something anywhere at any time, and usually eyes and hands. So the receiver up to my head is open, and somebody will flash through my mind out of the past, and I wonder, is that a SOS? or just simply you know, they thought of me, and I all of a sudden I heard it, and so I thought of them, and it was a simple exchange. But anyway, I think the nighttime triggers that for me. Up late like this, and most people sleep, and the radio bands, the frequency, the vibrations are there all the time. And I knew this librarian lady, and she was pretty strange. She didn't get along with most of the people I worked with, but I got along with her. And I left that job where she worked, and then soon after that, she wound up moving to, I don't know, Midwest someplace, and we would send letters back and forth for a little while. And one night, laying in bed with head empty, and had fallen into the listening to the universe thing. I She was there, and I could see her, and in her backyard, under a pile of leaves, was a big metal bar, and uh, I don't know the significance of it, but I wrote her when I wrote the next letter. I said, I think there might be a metal bar in your backyard underneath a pile of leaves you don't know about. I don't want you to hit it with a lawnmower or anything. And sure enough, she found it and was mystified and terrified. And how could you know that? I don't know. I wasn't. I'm not Harry Houdini of the frequencies. I just was to me a kind of a confirmation that this is all just not made up in my head. That I do have some aspect that lets me do that. Uh, Maybe we all do. It's just quieting your mind down is difficult. I don't know if you've ever really quieted it down so it's not screaming at you all the time. Sometimes I'll lay down in the afternoon and the whole intent is to quiet the mind down, not think about things I have to do or anything else. Just get really, really, really quiet. It's kind of like no programs to run in the CPU. It can power down and run at low energy, and uh, it's okay just running the basic RON physical model. There's no higher level functions, no higher level thoughts going on. And but if you do that, you quiet it down. Then I think you get open to other stuff. I don't want to say it's frequencies. Tesla, I was thinking, he said everything was frequencies if you listen to it. That the universe has music, songs, vibrations. And from a physics point of view, you find that to be true. Uh, One of the things, watching this lecture, and he was talking about harmonic oscillators as a basic model for all sorts of phenomena in the quantum world of physics, and the relationships to all kind of things. Everything vibrates. It vibrates. Everything is in motion, if you will, and electrons and neutrons and things circling around a nucleus, and all that stuff dancing all the time, locked in sort of a pattern, but nonetheless, it gives off, can give off light, gives off radiation, um, takes in radiation. But anyway, the dance of the universe and the frequencies that are going on. Uh, I say I didn't know where this was going when I started, and I still don't really know. Uh, typical, typical Ron not having a direction, and I'm okay with that. Uh, as much as I get focused on a particular project, um, there are times when I need periods of nothingness. I was thinking about, I told you about the Grateful Dead. There are times I go to the show and I would get inside, I got through the security, had my ticket, I had an assigned seat, but there's tons of people walking all around doing everything imaginable. And sometimes I would just stop because I had no idea where I should go or what I should be doing. So I would just stand there looking around. And they talk about it a lot, in the Bible or religious movies. Give me a sign, give me a sign of something. And so I would just wait for a sign. I didn't have any desire to go one place or the other, nor impetus, or I didn't know what was I doing there. And I would just let somebody else or something else, or you know, you've had the occasion you go into a store, it's chock full of stuff, but something will catch your eye. It's like cause to you, something, I don't know, bright shiny thing. Anyway, that was the idea of just staying in place, just standing there looking around, and not knowing where to go, what direction to take. I um, I think it's wrong that we somehow think we can wake up in the morning and know exactly what direction to take on something or on any other situation. How are you supposed to know? You've never been there before. And by strongly attaching yourself to one a direction kind of eliminates the possibility that you might be going in the wrong direction, and when things aren't going right in that direction, maybe they're trying to tell you that you're not going in the right direction. I've certainly had that. It's certainly true work in mechanics and all that sort of stuff. If it's too hard, something's not coming off right, or it's not going on right, or whatever, you're probably doing it wrong. Something, it shouldn't be that hard. I have learned that lesson, so I back away from it. Think about it some more. Apply some more grease. I don't know. Get a better screwdriver. Something. I certainly learned the mechanical world, and I think it applies to just about everything. That if it's not working right like you wanted it to, you're trying to do something and it's just not working out, then change your tools or change what you're doing, or how, what, if your goal was this, maybe you need to shift to a slightly different goal. I don't know, satisfied with that, satisfied with this. I took pilot's training. I wanted to be a, have my private pilot's license. And I flew around a lot. I got like 70 hours piloting a Cessna 172. Um, but I wasn't any good at it. I'm not a natural flyer, and I've said that before. And the goal was private pilot's license. And it really was nothing more than a vanity thing. It was like having a vanity license tag on your car. I could put one of my cars saying I'm a pilot, have a little airplane symbol. I know how to do this. I can fly a plane. Well, I could fly a plane. Uh, the flying part was not so bad. It was navigation, watching out for other airplanes. It was just too much for me. I didn't start it till I was 60 something. And, there are a lot of reasons, a lot of rationales, a lot of stuff. But nonetheless, in the end, the goal, or the accomplishment was I soloed. I went up by myself in the airplane. I took off. I landed safely twice. And that was a milestone. I got a little certificate for it. And I did take the FAA exam for a private pilot's license, and I passed that. The only thing I didn't do was a cross-country trip from Northern Virginia to Virginia Beach and back or something like that. I forgot exactly what it was going to be, but I never tried that, never did it because I wasn't ready, and I probably would never be ready to do that. Would be a dangerous thing to do for me. Too much workload. I just anyway change. I'm satisfied. No, I'm not a private pilot, but I'm satisfied. I did put 70 hours into learning how to fly a plane, and uh, I'm sure the instructor said, "Well, you're okay. You know, you'll do fine." But I didn't think so, and I'm the one who's putting this body in this little hunk of metal with a four-cylinder engine up at 5,000 feet, and anyway, the I got no theme at all, dude. I'm just rambling Jack Elliott. Um, Listen to him on the radio. Uh, had some strange radio in South Korea, the Air Force, Armed Forces Radio Network. I can't remember the full name of it right now, but they had some strange guys. I think Robin Williams did a Hello Vietnam. He was a broadcaster, a voice for Armed Forces Radio in Vietnam. I believe the movie was, and he was a crazy guy. And anyway, so I used to listen to hear strange people and what they were talking about. I think my plan now is to go take a shower. I only took one today, and that was after I was outside. And I gotta say, it's about it was 95 today, and the humidity is dew point's like 78. So you don't really cool off very well. Even the sweat just doesn't cool off or evaporate off you. So you kind of broil, and you do it too long, and you get. I've had heat stroke a couple times, and I don't like it. So I have to quit early. And tomorrow I'll probably sleep late, so I probably won't get more than an hour or an hour and a half of outside dirt work before I have to call a halt, come in and take a shower. But the point being was I had a shower like at noon, and I was awake the rest of the afternoon, and I did some work, and I got hot. I wasn't sweaty, but nonetheless, I think I'm probably covered with a slime, that I should have taken a shower at bedtime. It probably would have helped, but I didn't. And so I think I'll take one now. And I always use Ambien to go to sleep, and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. I don't know whether I swallowed a pill the wrong way or what it is, but it doesn't knock me out. And tonight it did knock me out. I was laying there like I do during my normal, if I lay down in the afternoon, nap. I would never got down into deep sleep. So it was time to get up. And the result is this. I don't even know what to call this. Put a label on it. 2 a.m. It's almost 2:30 now. 2 a.m. Uncle Ron. I don't know. You go to parties. You do this sort of thing. You talk about all kinds of crap. I used to make visits to friends. I didn't have that many, but I would go see friends, and when I did, we would set up most of the night talking about all sorts of things. The time that he was a captain at a fire base in Vietnam, and out somewhere supporting the troops in a fire base, and the Viet Cong launched an attack on the fire base, and they were overrunning it. There was too many of them, and he lowered the tubes on the 105 howitzers that he had, and just fired basically at ground level, and kept firing until the ammunition was out. He survived. The camp took a horrible beating. He remembers it. There had to have been mass casualties on both sides, but And as he would tell the story, I would do my empathy. I would get in his mind with him and be there with him during this terrible event. And there's been Facebook posts lately. The Holocaust Museum, I think in Washington, has now started uh, putting up photos of people, mainly women lately. I don't know why. And she was born in 1925 or something in a certain city. And in 1941, she was arrested by the Nazis and sent to Buchenwald or Auschwitz or one of the 3,000, 4,000 work camps they had. And she didn't survive. Uh, and, uh, it's interesting that social media is being used to remind that the Holocaust was actually people with lives and names, faces. They grew up here, born here, snatched, taken away, gassed, killed, machine gunned, bludgeoned to death, hung. I don't know. Uh, there was The Ascent of Man was a PBS series by Bernowski, I think it was his last name, and I really, really, really liked it. Very well erudite, educated, well-speaking, wide breadth of uh, knowledge, and he classified it as a great evil upon the earth at that particular time, and it sure seemed to be. A man's inhumanity, the man, rationale. They had a rationale for doing it. The whole genetic purity thing, and here was somebody they blamed everything on, and so the solution is get rid of him. And that is as straightforward as you can get on a solution. The Israelis, Iran or something was building a nuclear reactor, and Israelis said no, they're actually trying to get material for an atomic bomb. So instead of waiting around until they'd done that, they just took out the reactor before it even was completed. And that, you think about it, that's rationale says, yeah, do that. Well, in the Nazis' mind, their rationale was, this is our solution to a lot of problems. And the rationale is scary that governments can take such rationale. And the rationale like that was used on the dropping of the atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. They had a complete rationale about it. They were going to save American lives. They were going to save Japanese lives, because any kind of invasion was going to be a horror for the Japanese people as well as all the Americans involved in the invasion. And a terrible loss was going to be. And we had been firebombing the Japanese islands for months and destroying it brick by brick. And there wasn't much of a difference between that and just doing with a nuclear bomb. And so the rationale was there for use. And that's what is really scary. You have something like the Nazis or the atomic bomb, and even those horrible things can have rationale to it, and that's what's scary. And that rationale is anything you want to make it to be. So the Kim, whatever his name is, North Korea now has nuclear weapons. He could come up with some really weird rationale that says, "Oh, we just hit a couple. We hit Washington D.C. and we hit New York City, and they'll leave us alone. Then they won't have." Or like Japanese, the rationale was hit Pearl Harbor, and that takes care of all their fleet, and they can't have any real strength in the South Pacific where I want to roam around and do whatever I want to do. Okay, that was their rationale. They didn't understand the consequences of their action, and that's my problem with dropping an atomic bomb. It set a precedent. There are basically, we had a rationale. There are times when you can use it. The Nazis, they had a rationale. There are times when you just exterminate a whole race. Uh, no, no, that's you. The atomic bomb dropping was wrong. Saves American lives, and people argue this all the time. I understand all that. I understand all that. The point was, it set a precedent. There are times, apparently, when use of a nuclear weapon is the best way to go. I, uh, so it set a precedent. Rationale, rationale to do something. You can rationale anything, and we do all the time. You do some behavior, you know it's not quite right, but you rationale it. You know, hey, anyway, that's enough of this really long one, and I don't know. 2 a.m. I guess is what I'll call it. And it's the 20, I can't ever read it, 22 of July. Summer's passing by. It's been hot. Hopefully it starts cooling down. But 2023, I need to change oil in the car. I need to finish the backyard and get some sod in. I need to get the washing machine so it doesn't leak. I always hate it when it's not broken hard. You know, it'll run for 3 weeks and not leak, and then it does. Those sort of problems are the hardest to sort out, and just replacing parts is not the way to go on that. I have looked at it, seeing I've tried to test it. So I'm going to replace some parts, and hopefully in the process of doing that, I'll absolutely positively find where that leak is and take care of it. It gets frustrating when I can't locate what is the problem. So we all have that. What is the problem? You're the problem. Yeah, you bought it, you use it. That's the problem. If you had to take your clothes down to the creek and wash them, you wouldn't have this problem. It wouldn't leak. No, no, we have to have a washing machine. Uncle Ron is another one I don't know. I will say goodbye. I'm going to go take a shower and take a pill and try to go to sleep. I don't know if you're out there. I bet you're not watching at 2 a.m.